What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to Inside the YouTube Studio. Yes, the series is back. Took a tiny bit of a hiatus. I was just busy with a lot of things. So I thought it fitting to come back strong with a very good friend of mine, good friend of the community. He's one of those names when you hear his handle, you immediately know who it is. So without further ado, let me bring in Coma Comic Books, Drew.
Hey man, that was quite an intro. I thought we had a unannounced extra guest I didn't know about.
Right. How are you?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for a little bit. Just to talk comics, talk.
It's what we do, you know.
Yeah, exactly. It's sort of casual, just to kind of like have people just to kind of get to know you. So what I usually do first is, for those who are tuning in who may not follow you, which would be kind of surprising, just give like a little lay of the land of like, about the YouTube channel. And also we have a little bonus here. You're a dealer as well. So, just where you're at with things right now.
Right now, honestly, the dealer thing has I kind of paused a little bit just when gas got so crazy. And hotels are still nuts down here. So a lot of the shows I like to do are kind of smaller shows. I'm located right in between Kansas City and St. Louis. So it's like an hour and a half one way, hour and a half the other. So it's kind of nice. But, when you're doing shows that you might only sell like $1,000 worth of stuff at, it's still $1,000.
Right.
But when you're paying $250 for gas to get there, and the hotel that used to cost $100 now $250 too.
Right.
At that point, it's just like, we're just gonna pause on that. But I'm still buying stuff like crazy. I've got literally 24 feet of tables set up that's just chock full of inventory I'm working on processing through, getting ready. So when I do get back out there, it's going to be with a vengeance. I bought some amazing stuff since I had my last show. But since I've kind of, stepped back from actually being the road warrior right now, I've been able to, just lean in on the channel. And I've got a couple of newer series that are out that are going pretty well. I just had the second episode of my Keys for Every Budget series that I kind of started, which has been really well received. So I think I'm finally to the point where I can sit down at pretty much any given point and I have content on my calendar that's like regular content. It's not one of those where you sit down and you just kind of stare at the camera. You're like, what the hell am I going to talk about this week?
Which is super hard, right?
Yeah, no, it's and I've always been my biggest critic. So to find something that I think is worth investing my time in is a bit of mental gymnastics just from the get-go. But no, it's going pretty well. Just hit 8,900 subs, which is cool.
That's awesome.
A lot of the things I was really looking forward to hitting like 10K for. YouTube is really being generous this summer. They're giving a lot of us creators options and features that we didn't used to get until you hit, whether it was 1,000 or 5,000 or 10,000 subs. Now they're starting to open some of this up. So it's been an interesting summer, which is awesome. Fine by me.
I want to go back to the congrats on the success with that.
Thank you.
We'll find out the road to that. But I'm curious about the dealer side of things right now. So did you get to a point where people will just come to you, or do you actively seek collections?
Both. Word of mouth is definitely
because you don't have a physical best. You don't have a brick and mortar, so usually that's where most people go with collections and be like, I need to unload this, can you take it?
Correct. Yeah, being a dealer, not a retailer, if you really want to kind of split hairs and get ultra specific with definitions, you do have to work a lot harder, because there's no argument from anybody who's worked in the business. Like I worked at my local comic shop for about a decade here, and
that's cool.
just actually having a freaking door for stuff to walk into is the best. I mean, it doesn't even have to be a fully functioning door. Like our door stuck, and you kind of had to put a shoulder into it at some points. But the stuff that would just walk in that door was unbelievable. Doing it how I do it, I've got to be a little more proactive. The store never advertised that they bought. They didn't go out and try and get their name out there for different things. The store had been there for next year will be 50 years. It's the second oldest comic shop in Missouri.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, so it just, everybody kind of knew. They had that placement in the phone book back when that was a thing and stuff. But no, it's mostly just word of mouth. Of course, honestly, the YouTube channel kind of helps because it's a lot more forward than, obviously I've been a comic book geek for a while, but there's a difference between doing that in the shadows where, the people who know, but when you do it on YouTube and you're sharing out your videos and, you put your face to it and start spreading it to a wider audience where it's a little more visible, then at that point, people are like aware, right? And that's been some of the best stuff for me. I just actually got a couple of books back from CGC, and one of them came from a circumstance like that where my best friend's aunt saw that I did videos or posted about comics all the time. You may have seen the book. It's that really like roached out Avengers 1 I got.
Right. I saw that. Yeah.
Had the corner missing. Yeah. I mean, that's where that came from. Yeah. My best friend's aunt found it in an attic. I want to say it was in like a 120-year-old funeral home.
That's
or
amazing.
something like that is where it came from. But yeah, it's just, you never know where a lead will come from.
Yeah, of course. Have you gotten saying that? Have people contact because you have quite a large channel? In terms of a presence, have you gotten any leads from across the country or in an odd place and be like, hey, I found you on YouTube. You want to come pick this up in California or?
Yeah, I've had some interesting situations like that. Somebody actually contacted me from Canada recently.
No way.
Yeah, no, for real. And I actually, right at the beginning of COVID, I did seal an international comic deal. I don't remember exactly how it happened, but the seller on this particular deal, she actually, it was for a collection of Bone. So for anybody who doesn't know, it was Jeff Smith's Bone was a really popular indie title in the early 90s. Really hard to find a first print #1. The seller actually worked at the printing house that made these books. So these were her personal copies. They never even went to a comic shop. They were literally copies they ran at the facility and file copies, I guess you could almost consider them.
That's amazing.
But somehow she typed in Bone comic books and Como popped up. So she called me. Yeah, it was pretty wild. So I'm sitting here talking to my buddy, and then I think I was talking to Swag at the same time, and this message pops up. It's like, do you buy Bone comics? I'm like, yes, I do. And she sent a pic and kind of told me the story, and I'm just like, okay, guys, she has my attention. Yeah. So I'll talk to you in a bit.
So that was just before COVID?
It was early lockdown. I would say it was May-ish or something like that.
Where in the country was that printing house?
That is a great question.
Oh, it's okay. I thought she'd be like, oh, it's in such and such.
Because when she told me where she was, I Googled it. I just assumed it was Missouri. There's actually a town in Missouri with that same name where she's at. I don't remember exactly where the printing house was, but I could look it up, but my brain escapes me at the moment. It escapes me at the moment.
We had a friend of mine. He's in Tucson. He's also a dealer, but he's big on Archie and Betty and Veronica, and he's always trying to get me to buy the specific Canadian price variant of Betty and Veronica because they were printed here in Toronto at this specific printing house. Literally 10 minutes. It was 10 minutes from my house, and I'm just like, he's trying to get me to buy. I don't know if he's trying to get me to buy it so that he can come pick it up, or he's just like, oh yeah, you need to buy these. You need to buy these. So it's just interesting how some of these. I'm not saying they're obscure comics are produced and kind of like found. It's pretty interesting. What did you do with them? You still have them?
Yeah, I kept the number. Really, I kept all the first prints. So I more or less built out my Bone collection off of this, and it wasn't just. It was first prints. I think I had like 7 copies of Bone 1 between various printings. 5 of Bone 2. I mean, it was Bone 1 through 11, but it was like 46 books, right? Or something like that. You know, it was a big beefy box, but it was literally only composed of 11 issues across various printings. So yeah, when that happened, the Bone series at Netflix was still in development.
Right.
I just I peeled off what I wanted, and I stuck the rest of them in a box to just kind of sit on till that came to be. But we know how that went.
Yeah, exactly.
I still have them. I have sold 0 of them.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm sure somebody out there would. I've never even seen like any of the earlier issues of Bone, even other comics.
Yeah.
Is there a specific thing about the series, or
it's just
that you like?
Yeah, I have the compendium, so I have like this huge book that has it all. But it's just a really good story.
Okay.
Really well done. They tell me I haven't actually got to sit down and read it all yet.
Okay. I've never gotten to any of the Bone stuff, so that's interesting.
I'd be interested to see some of the stuff he did in college, because like the Bone characters have been around since Smith was in college. Only it was a lot racier, as I understand it. Like they were, you know, a little more like what a college kid might create, but.
Yeah, sure.
Those are really hard to find. Even they did like a collected edition of that, and even that is pretty hard on the wallet.
Is that when we're chatting about stuff? I usually we don't like. I don't ask what your favorite book and stuff like that, but I'm actually kind of curious. Are you into more like obscure stuff like that, or would you be into more like the age of something, or like what ticks the boxes?
Well, like my primary interest is Silver Age Marvel.
Okay, sure.
The rub with that is I have nearly all of it.
Say that again.
I have nearly all of it. I have like somewhere between 10 and 15 issues to have every 12-cent Marvel superhero comic.
Every single one.
Every single one.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna end it right here. That's just a bit of a mic drop. He's done the flex, and we're done. That's crazy. That's crazy.
No, it's awesome. I was on Comic Book Canon with Jeff and Journo a few weeks ago, and I showed him the books I picked up at C2E2, which I only bought 4 books, but each one of them pretty well all but finished off a Silver Age run. So like I picked up Amazing Adult Fantasy 12, which gave me Amazing Adventures 1 through Amazing Fantasy 15. So that whole run's done. Which that's a bit of a stretch calling it a superhero title, since there's really only Spider-Man at the end.
Yeah.
But I picked up like Tales to Astonish 45 and 46. So now I think it's 34 through 101. I just need 27 to have all the superhero issues of Tales to Astonish. And the other book I picked up was Thor, I think 127, which gave me basically every Thor book, Silver Age Thor book from JIM 84 to wherever it runs out in Thor. And I go into like the 15 centers, some too, but still a few more to pick up on a couple titles there.
That's amazing. That's quite the feat. Did you have this goal in mind, like prior to being a dealer, or is that how you got into it?
When I kind of got back into the hobby, that was my goal. Like when I was a kid, we always went to like antique shops and stuff with my my dad and my uncle bought a farm, and they were out doing farm stuff and hunting and stuff like that. And until I was old enough to go do that kind of thing, it was okay. I'm with my mom and my aunt, my sister,
Right.
and
Right.
we're going to McDonald's and Walmart and every antique store that's open
Yeah.
on the weekend. So I've been digging through antique booths for comics for forever.
Yeah.
And once I kind of got back into it, I just decided, that was what I wanted to do. I want to have 1 through 100 of every Marvel superhero title.
That's amazing. I was just on, just recorded the Comic-Con podcast with Justin and Zach,
Mm-hmm.
and we were just talking and stuff like that, and I was like, and it just came out. I just said I'm not a completionist at all. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter if I only have like 2 of a run or whatever. It just it's fine by me. But I appreciate those that want that completion. Right? I know that's very satisfying to a lot of people.
And that's me. Like, I'd rather have one of everything than the best of anything.
There you go. Okay.
So
that should be on a t-shirt. That should be on a t-shirt.
Yeah. Which is why I stay the hell away from like magic cards and stuff like that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Ugh.
Okay, so let's. I don't know if they're sort of tied together. Let's rewind the clock a little bit. Like, the getting back into collecting, was it tied into the channel, or it was completely separate?
No, the channel came about way later. Basically, I collected as a kid, like everybody does.
Right.
I want to say the first book I bought was like in the summer of '88 or '89. It was Now Comics had the Ghostbusters license, and they did a 3-issue adaptation of Ghostbusters 2. So I guess that would have been '89, summer of '89. So that's kind of where I started, and then that into like Sonic the Hedgehog from RG, and
right.
Then I got into Spider-Man, which Spider-Man was always kind of my big thing. So I'd been buying Silver Age Spider-Man since sometime in the mid 90s. I was probably the only, let's see, at that point, 11-year-old on the Mile High Comics mailing list, where I got the the newsprint catalog they sent out every month or couple months, and it was not something most of my friends were doing at that point.
Yeah, I can imagine. Even like, like I was even collecting when I was younger, but Silver Age stuff never really. I wasn't aware of. I'm not saying the value of it, but the importance of it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like to be that aware of like how important and valuable it is like it was pretty key.
My thing was, I was a huge Green Goblin fan. So, like, when I grew up, we had obviously the X-Men cartoon, then the Spider-Man cartoon, and all this. And I just fell in love with the Green Goblin. And you look at it, and there aren't that damn many appearances of the Green Goblin. So it doesn't take very long to go down that rabbit hole before you're chasing, the 7 or 8 appearances the character's in, from the Silver Age. It's just the way it happens. Like, I mostly got out of it somewhere around 8th grade when I found like Girls and Guitars. Is the 2 factors I always attribute it to. But I never got completely out, because I was still, this would have been like 01, 02, surfing eBay for cheap comic listings. Like, I think the first thing I ever bought off eBay was I bought an ASM 23 and 40. It was a 2-issue lot. It was $40 shipped for these 2 books.
No way. What condition?
Yeah. They're VG plus. I mean, they're like between 4 and 5, somewhere in there. Okay. I've still got them. I could go look.
Nice. That's awesome.
But yeah, it's like, I've got $20 in the both of them. I could do very well with that.
Exactly.
So, it was always kind of one of those things, but really when I got back into it was early 05, I guess it was. I was going to school full time, was working full time, and there just wasn't a lot of Drew time.
Okay.
So it's like, I need to find something I can do for me in the 20 minutes I have here, the 30 minutes I have there.
Sure.
And eBay was there, so I'm like, yeah, I'll go surf eBay and see what I can find, and bought a ton of stuff for ludicrous prices compared to what they go for today. And I walked into a couple of the local comic shops around here at the time and kind of I discovered Ultimate Spider-Man, which was kind of fun and refreshing, and was the gateway that ultimately got me back in, because I think Amazing at that time was doing the other story arc, so it was getting kind of kinky into the spider mythos, just a little out there, but still it was right before Civil War, basically.
Okay.
So I kind of got my feet wet, and then that major, I mean, it's probably one of the better events of the last 20, 30 years. So it was kind of a nice point to get back into the mainstream new stuff and kind of get back into the excitement of that. And really a couple of fortunate things that happened that really got me back into the collecting the old stuff was one of the local comic shops I was hanging out in. They had this consignment collection come in, and it was nuts. It was a customer who, most of the books have been bought there over the years, but like the ASM run started at 4, FF was
No way.
7 or something like that, and just solid runs. And then by the time you get into like 69, 70, everything's freaking near mint.
No way, really?
The ugly books are VF. Everything else is near mint. Like, I see your Tomb of Dracula 1 behind you.
Yeah.
I bought the Tomb of Dracula 1 raw out of this collection.
Okay.
It's slabbed out at a 9.8.
No way.
I bought the Iron Man 55 raw out of this collection. It's slabbed out at a 9.6 unpressed, because I didn't know what the hell pressing was at that time. I've got the ASM 129. Somebody dropped it. I actually bought it secondhand, but even after the drop, it came out at an 8.0, and I'm pretty sure I can get it pressed up to a 9.2. It's this collection was insane, and I bought half of it.
Okay. And the shop didn't have issues with that, or you didn't have ties. What was the relationship to the shop? It was just you're just the customer at that point in time, or?
I'd been hanging out for a little bit, and that was kind of coming in and spending hundreds and hundreds or thousands of dollars. So a really good way to get in on the good side of the shop.
Yeah, sure. So if you're like, I want this, it's like, sure, Drew, no problem.
Yeah, and basically it took me a couple years to buy all this stuff, but I came in and I was buying things consistently enough and spending enough dollars that basically they're like, okay, what do you want? And I got to set up my own layaway program, basically, to where I just pulled all of the best stuff that I needed or wanted, and chipped away at it for a couple years, honestly.
Okay, because you made the choice to buy the specific books, because I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, they would have done something with it in those years. Like, it'd been like, okay, we need to move these books, kind of thing.
Well, and this is, like,
I guess it was a lot harder. I guess it was a lot harder to move a lot of books quickly back then.
Yeah, and even $100 was a lot to spend on a book back then. I mean, especially we're in a college town, so there are collectors and there are people who spend money, but a lot of the 200, 300, 400 plus books didn't turn that quick. And there, at that point in time, the market hadn't shifted to where Bronze Age was something that was highly sought after. Everybody was still focused in spending their money on Silver Age stuff, and if there's a Bronze Age book that came in that you wanted, it was okay. But I think I paid $350 for that Tomb of Dracula 1, which was one of the more expensive copies. The Marvel Spotlight 5 might have been that much, but I think I paid $100 for the Iron Man 55, because nobody gave a crap about Thanos.
Oh wait.
I bought the Hulk 181. It was one of the few books they actually sent off to CGC. It was, I think, the Hulk 181 and Daredevil 168 were the only two that went out. Of course, no pressing, no nothing. The 168 came back a 9.4. A buddy of mine bought that, and the 181 was an 8.5, and I paid $900 for it.
That's incredible.
And that was market value back then.
Yeah.
There's just, the prices weren't there yet.
Yeah.
So.
And it's interesting that, well, like, I mean, I guess it's a blessing, like, to be in that small little sort of town and have that opportunity.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's that definitely seems like it molded your stance in the community moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, you start building relationships, and one of the things I tell people, it's like, everybody wants to know how you get good deals, how you get access to books, and I tell you, the most powerful thing you can do from a collector standpoint is to earn the right of first refusal with a comic shop. If you get in and develop your relationship to the point that they know you're serious, they know what you like, and they know no bullshit. Like, if something legit walks in, they pick up the phone and you'll pull the trigger. They will call you the instant anything good walks in.
Right. Okay.
Because for shops like that, when they come out of pocket many hundreds, several thousands of dollars, the first thing they want to do is start recouping that investment.
That's the first thing you do.
Yeah, and if they know that they can pick up the phone, call you, and get 25, 50, 75%, 100% of their money back inside of 12 hours, 24 hours, that's just good business on their part. They get their money back, and then everything else is gravy from that point on.
And you're getting a good deal, right? And you're picking up some great books. Like, that relationship, that's one of the best relationships. I can honestly say, like, here where I live, most of the shop owners do not operate like that. It's more the shop and everything else is first, rather than the relationships with the customers. If you know what I mean.
And sadly, that may be a thing of the past. Like, that shop is sold now. It was run by the same guy for 48 years, 47 years or something. And it was different. It wasn't 100% profit based. Like, the owner ran the store for the love of the products. I mean, it was one of those things, you'd be hanging out in there and some random, like, deep cut would come up, or just some kind of foundational thing. It's like, in his eyes, everybody should know. For me, it was Little Nemo and Dreamland or Slumberland, whatever it is, came up. He's like, "You don't know Little Nemo?" I have no idea what you're talking about. He dropped everything he was doing, like, whatever was happening in the store stopped, and he went over and got this massive oversized hardcover of Little Nemo that they put out to closely mimic the old quarter sheets or whatever they were, full-size newspapers, and just folded that up, and I got smacked in the face by Winsor McKay, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. But that was the kind of shop it was. It was about the art form of comics, of comic books. I mean, just, it was what it should be.
Right.
It's not about bleeding every cent out of every book. It's not about getting eBay prices for stuff you're selling at retail. It's, I don't know.
Do you think that sensibility, that ideology is completely gone?
It's trending that way, and I understand it. There's the business element of it. It takes a special kind of person to operate where you obviously have to make money because you want to eat, you've got bills to pay,
of course,
but to be satisfied with making a living, not making a killing, is something that's not all that common anymore.
Right.
I don't know.
I just think that there's too much pressure now, and this is just more of a blanket sort of idea. It's really hard, wherever you live, even if you live in a small town. It's hard to, like you said, pay your bills, pay your mortgage, pay your rent, pay your car. Like, it's just getting that much harder. So there's that pressure to either work harder, get more out of something,
Yep.
so that you can live within that.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that is driving a lot of the decisions that are being made, rather than just like the love of something. I think that is getting crushed because of how expensive everything is.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
Yeah, and I think there's just, there are people out there who really value doing something that they're interested in and being their own boss. Like, not driving fancy new cars, living in giant houses and having shiny new everything is not as important as somebody who can make their own rules, set their own schedule, still go do the things they want to do, and go to bed not hungry every night. So I think it's just, it's not the way the world tells us to live anymore, basically.
Yeah, and you get, no matter which way you turn, you're not getting that message. You're getting a completely different message.
Yeah.
So.
And then to top it off, this stuff doesn't walk in the door like it used to.
No. Yeah.
I mean, when I first started hanging out there, when a 30-year-old collection walked in the door, it was from the mid-70s. So it would have ended in the mid-70s. But it's like when a 30-year-old collection walks in the door today, it's full of 90s crap.
I know.
There's a little bit of difference there.
Yeah. Still a little bit of value now.
Yeah. It's like 5 books.
All right. So now I'm getting a sense of how you developed the love of comics that we all hopefully share, that I share. How did this journey take you to, because it's we're talking about your YouTube channel, how did this bring you to the channel itself?
Well, that's actually kind of a sad story. The comic shop I've been talking about this whole time, I got to be really good friends with the manager. The guy had worked there off and on since the 80s. And he basically just was the shop. Like, we'd go down there and hang out, a couple days a week after work, like Thursdays and Fridays. We just had a pretty tight crew, and you just hang out. And didn't matter if you're talking about life or movies or comics or whatever. It was just, that was kind of our clubhouse. He passed away on Thanksgiving in 2019.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was a shock, kind of a bummer, because the whole plan was like he was the heir. The original owner was going to turn everything over to him. He was the future of the shop. He was going to carry it on. And then things didn't happen in the order they were supposed to. And I guess, as they say, you can just never go home. So that was kind of the end of that. And it's like, well, I still love this stuff. I'm still going to talk about it all the time. And my wife sure as hell isn't going to put up with it. So I got to talk to somebody about it.
Okay.
And I'm kind of techie. Like, I was originally going to go to college to do like music production and music business and stuff like that. So I slowly kind of been buying things, microphones, like the boom arm and the mic and all the stuff I'm using now. I picked up on like a Prime Day before all this, thinking, maybe I could do like a podcast or something down at the comic shop. Just it'd have to be heavily censored because we could make a sailor blush. But
you can swear, you can swear all you want here.
Oh, okay, that's good. But it was just, I kind of had already started getting some of this stuff, and I had a camera. I didn't know how to run it, but I'm like, what the heck? Let's do this. I'd run social media for the shop for years, so I was kind of familiar with a little bit of the Facebook aspect and stuff like that. But honestly, it wouldn't have happened if that around the same time, that fall 2019, I found a channel that finally explained YouTube to me. I didn't get YouTube. I didn't understand it. It's like, why the hell do I want to watch cat videos all day, or something like this? It just, it didn't resonate with me. So that fall, I found Pixel Dan's channel, which I don't know if you're familiar with Pixel Dan, but he's pretty big in like the action figure collectibles and stuff like that.
I've heard of him, but I've never yet.
Yeah, so he's been making toy content for over a decade, I think, at this point. But I'm fortunate in the fact that my mom didn't throw out all my stuff from when I was a kid, so like almost all my childhood toys and stuff are still in her basement. So instead of being like, oh, my mom threw all that out, now I just have to deal with, hey, come get your crap out of my basement.
Right.
So I was dealing with some of that, just getting back into that, and that's why I discovered his channel, and that helped me understand YouTube. And then I lost my place to talk about comics, so then it just kind of
gotcha.
1 + 1 = 2.
Right, I got you. You're like, I can do this.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I could, and then I did my first video, and I didn't know how to set a white balance, and I also wandered into the color grading section. So my video started out orange and got oranger as it went on. Okay. It's still out there, so it's terrible. If you want to laugh, check that out.
We all need that first video, though.
Yeah,
as that marker point, right?
Yeah, your first videos are your worst videos, as they say.
Can't come out swinging.
No. But
that's cool. It's life throws you those instances where at the particular point in time, and everybo's had to deal with this. You're like, how unfortunate is this situation? And you can, you can either sit there and live in that and not move forward from it, or use it as motivation to be like, okay, that was an awesome experience. Let's use that to make or create or move into something greater.
Yeah, right? Definitely. I mean, and it was just as natural of a pivot point as you will find in life. But I mean, the things I'd learned in the 10 years I worked with and for the shop, and with James, my buddy who passed away in particular, there's no way in hell I could do this or do it anywhere near as competently as I think I do at this point, because just for a decade the two owners of that shop just poured knowledge into my head. That's taught me how to grade comics, taught me what comics were good, what comics to read, what comics to just look at because they're gorgeous. And it was a good experience, and it's not something I'd trade.
No, for most people, I don't think that's a lifetime experience in terms of and because you already went into it with a love of comics, right? To have that kind of mentorship is
definitely. And I used to work in retail. Like, that was my first gig. I did it for like a decade, and when I transitioned jobs away from retail to what I do now, going down there still kind of scratched that itch, because I love the psychology of retail. Just thinking of what people are going to think about before they do, and positioning yourself to best help them at that point, which by being good at that, you inevitably help yourself too. But yeah, it was just fun. It was a really good situation, and it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, but the benefits outweigh the problems by far.
So this lead into, I'm just trying to get the timeline right. So 2019, like, were you actively buying and selling at that point?
Yeah. Como, as it exists, like as a concept, pretty well started around 2012, I think.
Okay.
Basically what happened, and I don't know how far down the rabbit hole you want me to go here.
As far as you want to go, my friend.
Alrighty. Well, pull me out, because sometimes I get in too deep.
That's okay.
But I decided that this is about 3 or 4 years after this consignment collection came in, and I dumped thousands and thousands of dollars into some really awesome books, first world problems.
Of course.
I had the realization that to get the best prices, I needed to cut out the middle guy where I could. I mean, obviously I was still going to shop at my shop and you know, support my buddies as things came in and stuff. But it's like, I can do this myself. Like, I can go out there and find collections.
Yeah.
If they're not actively pursuing things, you know, just kind of letting things come to them as they will, I'll go out there and I'll be proactive. I'll see what I can dig up. So I think it was just like 4th of July 2012 or something like that. I'd gotten a lead. I'd found a collection. It was actually the town over from where I grew up. My mom's actually from this town, but the guy had a late silver and bronze age collection, and I went up and it was like 6 long boxes or something like that, and I wound up buying it. So that's awesome. I went through and, you know, I think I wound up keeping like somewhere between a short box and a long box. So when I kind of got rid of the junk, like that was just trash, pulled everything I wanted and kind of organized it and condensed it down, I wound up with, I think by the end of it, it was about 3 long boxes of pretty decent stuff. Okay. And I'd taken that, and I'm like, okay, I got what I want. I'll just go trade it to a shop or something and just, you know, offload it, and I'll have added all this to my collection, and, you know, I'll get my money back out of it. So I went to 2 shops in Kansas City, a couple of the biggest shops in Kansas City, and my experiences there are why Como exists.
I can see what's happening. Okay.
Basically, I got an offer of, I think, $150 at one shop.
For the lot?
For the lot, yeah. So that would have been, it was 3 or 4 long boxes of late silver and bronze. I mean, there's like runs of Nick Fury, lots of Marvel bronze runs and stuff. I mean, it wasn't immaculate by any means, but it was solid mid-grade stuff. And then I went into another shop, and he had a low-grade Hulk 3 on his wall. He had $300 for it, and I couldn't get $300 trade credit out of these 3 or 4 long boxes. So at that point in time, I threw them back in the car, and I said, screw you guys, I'll do it myself. And
I love that attitude.
Yeah. And those 4 long boxes or whatever it was were the foundation of what I did. And then it was earlier that year, the comic shop had sent me to our big Comic Con here in the area is Planet Comic Con in Kansas City. So we had this consignment that I've been talking about. They're like, take what's left of that, get a table, and just see what you can sell. So I did that. It was the first comic convention I had ever been to in my life. I set up and ran a booth at, and I got bit by the bug. So for the next several years, really the only time I would sell would be like me and the shop would split a booth. So we'd get a corner. I'd take one table, they'd take the other table. Then I eventually added like a wall, you know, in the back for the good stuff. And it just kind of kept growing and growing, and I was buying and selling, and it just kind of snowballed from there.
What was it? What was like the initial? Like, what was the hook? Like, you know, you said you got bit by the bug. Like, what was the thing that drew you in, and you're like, I love doing this? Like, I mean, we can see it's you know, beyond the love of the books. Like, you mean, but there's something that is it the giving back, like to other people, like finding books for other people? Is it like?
Honestly, I think the main thing is it allowed me to hunt for it. Like, I never get mad on the deals where I can't make a deal. I get mad on the deals where I never get to see what's in a collection, so then I'll never know what was there. Because digging through and finding the stuff is what I really have fun with. But as far as the show goes, it was just kind of one of those points where nerd culture was really taking off, right?
Yeah, and it was okay. It was okay to be a nerd.
Yeah,
right.
It was March of 2012 is when this show was, and It was the week after the season finale of The Walking Dead where Michonne showed up. So just for perspective, I had a guy who wound up becoming a pretty good mentor and a good friend. I met him at that show, and he was set up, and he had like 3 copies of Walking Dead 1. He had the most Walking Dead packages I'd ever seen at this point. Over the course of that weekend, I think he started out his Walking Dead's ones were priced at $400 and went to $500, went to $600, and then $900 and to $1,200. And by the end of the weekend, he finally just pulled the last one off. He's like, prices are going so crazy. He's like, I'm just not going to sell it.
No way. Okay. Were they graded?
No, these are raw copies.
Wow.
But there was so much fervor going on about The Walking Dead at the time. It was just, he's like, I've got to pull this and just let the dust settle. The guy who at the time had sold the record price for a 9.8 Walking Dead 19 just a few days before was in the room, and it was like he sold a 9.8 19 for over $2,000, which was just mind-boggling at that point in time. But it was just the excitement around that, because I was way into The Walking Dead when it first came out. My wife got me the first compendium, and I read it all in 3 days. Went down to my LCS, bought every back issue they had, and within 4 to 6 weeks, I was current. I had every single issue.
No way.
And I think 69 had just came out, so I fell hard on or into The Walking Dead. But to just see the cultural event happening in real time, as you know, everybody was kind of clamoring to get these books, and then there was another dealer there, and you know, I walk over there, they've got 3 AF-15s on the wall. I've never seen one in my life. I'm a huge Spider-Man fan, and like Gary Frederick, the co-creator of Ghost Rider, is there. Bernie Wrightson's there. Just Arthur Suidam, who does all the Marvel Zombie covers. It's just, you know, it's like, it was just,
you're immersed in everything that is the comic nerd.
Yeah, everything was to 11, and it was just a good time, and yeah.
I can imagine you leaving wanting more and more, right?
Yeah, it was good, and it's, you know, like I said, I had a background in retail, so I knew how to sell stuff, and I'm also I'm known to be a bit of a aggressive negotiator. Okay. So just getting out there and finding the things you want and doing the dance to try and get the deal that you would like to have. It was, and to actually do it for comics, you know, like for something I was really interested in, was a bit of a treat.
That's the most important part, is like it. I'm not saying it's a job, but like, you mean, you know, it does turn on the lights at some point, like, in your place, but it's the fun of it that you know, makes it that much easier. Yeah,
I mean, we still do that show every year, and from when we first started, it was a 2-day show in a small convention center. It's now takes up the entirety of the largest convention center in Kansas City. It's a 3-day show, which means we're on site for 4 days, and by the time we leave, I mean, we are running to the dirt, but you know, all you see are like 4 corpses on the ground with huge smiles.
And hopefully no books left.
Well, you know, we've had some good shows, but that would be a pretty good weekend.
That's awesome. Yeah, I had a friend at the Toronto show that just passed. And that's this thing. Sunday, take it home. I don't want to go home with that. So.
Yeah, and the trick in those situations is to just being in the right place at the right time. Sorry about your friend, by the way, but one of the main tips I can kind of give people is to just be aware of your surroundings, you know.
Yeah.
Keep an ear out for things like that. One of the best buying shows I ever had, it was a terrible freaking show for selling. I think I only sold $400 all weekend. It was crap. But the guy who was set up cattywampus from me had a corner, and he's like, I've got a basement full of comics and I'm tired of them. I just want them gone. He's like, I'm selling everything for $2 a book. This was early in the show. Things weren't going too great. I heard that. I went over there, and I'm not shitting you. I started grabbing handfuls of Silver Age books and Bronze Age books and key books out of this guy's. I bought over a long box of books from this guy, and I'd have bought more, but one of my friends is a jackass and jumped in front of me and started cherry picking in front of me. I still cuss him to this day, but thankfully I know a lot more than he does, so I still did pretty good.
Okay. Yeah, it's those kind of situations. Like it's it's one thing to be at the show and to have people coming up and buying books, but there's the interactions that you need with other dealers, and that's where a lot of things happen. I'm not saying behind the scenes, but you know who they are, and you can approach them and make those kind of deals.
Oh, I'll say it. I mean, I won't lie. It's like the best deals are done before the show opens.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, because I don't get to be that guy very often because I'm usually dilly-dallying and not ready. But there are guys that they'll get like multiple booths so they can get in a whole day early to set up. So then by the time guys like me show up with just one day set up, they're out there hitting the floor. They're going through people's wall books and dropping serious coin before the show even opens.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
that's cool. Love it.
It's the hustle. You gotta love it.
Right? But if you want to be part of it, it's definitely, and it's how you hustle.
Yeah.
So that's the most important part. We have a crystal clear picture of where Drew started off, the journey to where it is now. Where are you taking it in the future? What do you have? Any plans to like expand the business, expand the channel, or just kind of like let it happen organically?
I think the easy answer is probably organically.
Okay.
Honestly, right now, I think quality is kind of the main area of focus, just improving quality in all facets, trying to get better at being on camera, better at editing, better at scripting, just trying to make the content better any way I can, more interesting, more engaging. Obviously, being a couple years in, 2.5 years in now, some of that naturally happens, which is good. I'm still not the most engaging person ever, but I
think you are.
Well, thank you. I'm good in a crowd. Like I've got a pretty decent sense of humor. It may be mildly to extremely inappropriate, but I can get a zinger in every once in a while. But just really trying to stay consistent and improve the channel, and I think I'm finally kind of getting into the groove where I know what I want to do. I know what I'm decent at that people seem to enjoy, so I'm kind of leaning into that more, which is good. And I realized kind of when I started out, it's like, I want to do 10,000 subs, I want to do all this. It's like none of that crap really matters. I mean, it's just vanity metrics. So do I eventually want to hit it? Yeah. Last year I was like, hey, let's do this big push to 10,000. It's like, why? What value does me having 10,000 subs give anybody? So it's like, I'm just going to shut up about that. I'm just going to make the content and, give the community hopefully some knowledge or entertainment or, whatever it is that people come to my channel for. I'll lean into that and not care so much about the numbers.
Yeah. I think once you take that kind of out of the equation, I find this with content creators that have adopted that sort of ideology. It comes across and I'm not saying their message, but it comes across in how they project themselves, right? So it's I find it refreshing. Like you just be like, oh, it's very relatable.
Yeah, and I understand, where it's natural for, as a starting content creator to there's some sense of validation, when you're working towards like 1,000 or 5,000 or whatever it is. It's just, getting out there to the point where you make enough contact or enough of a splash where you almost can convince yourself at that point that you're like, okay, I'm not wasting my time doing this. Just
Right.
having that sense of validation, I think, is important when you're starting out. But then I was happy to get to the point where, just growing that number and having a certain number wasn't what was super important to me. But it's helped in other ways. It's fun to be at shows and people recognize you or come up and say they enjoy the content. It helps increase the customer base, obviously, because with name recognition hopefully comes people who are interested in stopping by and shopping. So that's beneficial too. And I still laugh because I don't do the best with like recognition and stuff like that. That's just, I don't know, that's just me, I guess. But when I'm at a show, just like hanging out, it happened the first time last fall. I was just on the show floor early of a little show in Oklahoma we like to go to. And I was talking to a vendor. He had like a Crime Suspense 22 or something on the wall. So I'm kind of checking that out, nerding out. And a guy walks up and goes, "You're Drew. I knew who you were by your voice. I heard you before I saw you."
No way.
It's like, oh, hey, that's cool. Thank you. But it's just like, wait, people know what my voice sounds like? That's crazy to me.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's awesome. I think that's great.
Yeah, but that's cool. And as far as like Como in the physical sense, the dealership or vendor side of it, quality there just means improving what I'm bringing. When I first started out, I had those 4 bronze and silver age boxes I talked about, and it was pretty easy to find modern collections, copper and modern stuff. So you acquire a bunch of stuff, but it's not necessarily all that great of stuff, right? So being able to have boxes that are filled with better silver age, earlier silver age, higher grade bronze, key copper issues, like stacks of multiple key issues, for people to shop through, as opposed to just, random run filler issues from the 90s for the most part. Just being able to offer better books in general, a more wider variety of things that people are actively hunting for, as opposed to just kind of the stuff they might settle to buy if they can't find anything else.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, I mean, for me, when the dealers that I consistently go back to are the ones exactly what you said. They have that quality, right? Those are the customers that you want, that are at that place where they're not looking to buy mass quantities. Like they're looking to buy the highest quality books that they can, right? And they'll consistently keep coming back to you, right? And then they're gonna turn around and be like, "Hey, my buddy's after the exact same thing because we're all friends. We all think the same. You need to go see Drew, and then you need to see Drew, and then it just snowballs from there."
It feeds the beast,
right? Yeah.
And then one thing I noticed pretty early, I mentioned my buddy who was kind of a mentor to me. We set up at a lot of the same shows early on and talked. He kind of showed me the way. One thing I noticed from watching him is that when you get to a certain point where the quality of books on your wall, not necessarily, like in the boxes, having good box stock, but when you get to the point where, you're rocking 4-figure books on the wall. Well, 4-figure at the time, 5 figures were pretty rare back then, for the most part. But when you hit that stride with your wall where, most things are, $500 or more. You've got Silver Age #1s. You've got big boy books, right? That just breeds more of the same. Like, you'll have people that come into a show with equally big books that don't have the one you have, so then you can wind up working trades, or people see that you have this certain quality of stuff. They're like, okay, well, I've got stuff I want to sell. It looks like that's the kind of stuff you deal in. And it kind of, once you hit that turning point, it's funny how just more of the same sins to gravitate your way, if that makes sense at all.
100%. And I'm going to draw a parallel to that, where within the YouTube community, IG community, and stuff like that, like, let's pull the selling aspect out of it. That's, a lot of people gravitate towards each other for stuff like that, right? Like, where you just want to be around like-minded people, and it's that same kind of thing.
For sure.
Yeah.
Which I think that's something people may not realize, but like when we do the Illuminati, or you get a bunch of us on a stream, or even just like a hangout somewhere, like, we shut the stream down. We go on and talk for another 30 or 45 minutes because it's just, it's not work. That's our chance to kind of kick back and relax and have a good time with people who have that shared experience. Because, I mean, doing this is kind of, it's not something everyone understands or is exposed to, or encounters the same things that come with being a content creator on YouTube or wherever. So it's kind of a fun opportunity for us to just kind of
shared interest. Sorry.
Yeah.
More than beyond the shared interest, it's once you find out and you come together because of those, you find out all the similarities that life that you have. In life that you have, right? Beyond the book. Beyond
definitely.
All the other stuff.
Yeah. Which is just fun, and it's always interesting to get a bunch of different people with different views in the room and kind of see where they all land, and see what you can help each other out with,
right. Yeah.
Because everybody's better at something than somebody else, right? And when you can kind of share that and build off of each other and support each other, it's what it's all about, right?
Yeah. And it makes you, whether it's to make yourself feel better, it's nice to help your friends out.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, I don't want to keep you forever. That would be awesome.
I'm not going anywhere.
But we, as per usual, we're going to kind of wrap up things, because we got an awesome picture of before, now, after. So we're at the point where I have a questionnaire. It is from Bernard Pivot. It was originally the questions from Inside Actor Studio.
Okay.
And it's just a fun series of questions that the viewers can get to know you just a little bit better.
Sure.
Are you ready?
Hit me.
And you can take as much time as you want.
Okay.
Okay. What's your favorite word?
Favorite word? Oh, that is not what I expected at all.
Yeah, I'm not going to ask you if it's pizza or pasta. Cat or dog.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Damn. How is it I have as many words as I do and I can't pick a favorite one? I'd probably say all right.
All right?
Yeah.
Because it can mean pretty much,
It can mean things are going all right. It can mean shut the hell up. It can mean let's go. I use it a lot.
Okay.
In many different ways.
All right.
Yeah.
What is your least favorite word then?
Morning. I am not a morning person.
Neither am I. And people that are a morning person, a little
they're a little different.
different.
I'm more likely to be up at 5 a.m. because I haven't gone to sleep yet than I am to wake up at 5 a.m.
Same here, my friend. Same here. All right. So this isn't literal. It's not literal.
Okay.
It's just something that. What turns you on?
To kind of go back to what we talked about earlier, it would probably have to be the unknown when I dive into a new collection somebody's called me about, or a box of comics or something, because I've dug through boxes and boxes and boxes of stuff and found nothing. I've dug through a tote of just absolute crap and found an X-Men #1 at the bottom. So it's just,
Nice.
You never know what you're going to find, and just the excitement of finding something and having the opportunity to find something is something of note, I guess.
I think
it's at.
I think that's a shared feeling. Whether you're digging through a collection that you just got, or you're in an LCS, or you're at a convention, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. I try and be a little more organized at a convention, but you can have a plan, but you got to be able to just roll with the punches and walk through the door that opportunity knocks on.
Right. I usually go I prepare if I'm going to go to a con. I don't go to many, but as soon as I walk through that door, it's like, it's all gone. I'm like,
oh yeah.
What the hell? What am I after? I have no idea.
I make a list, 100%, because I'll do the same thing.
Yeah, it's gone.
Just like, being asked to say what your favorite word is.
There you go. We're not done.
Okay.
What turns you off?
Honestly, I'll keep it kind of specific to the hobby, but there's just the predatory people that can exist within the hobby turn me off.
Yeah.
Like the people who are just out to better themselves, to screw over little old ladies, to sell somebody something they know is not what it is.
Right.
Just the people who actively work in their own interest against the betterment of the community.
And without saying anything, I think most people know what exactly you're talking about. Considering the state of the comic community. That's a good one. I like that.
Well, yeah, I hadn't even thought of any of the recent drama, but
okay.
But yeah, they're just, there are sharks in the water.
Yeah.
Right.
I know what you mean. All right. What sound or noise do you love?
I'm a duck hunter, so I love waterfowl and just birds. I've always been interested in birds and flight and planes and everything. But if you ever hear a flight of ducks,
yeah, I know that. Yeah,
banking into a pond,
yeah,
and it sounds like a jet taking off when the air hits their wings just right. I love that sound.
Oh, nice. That's really cool. Yeah, I've definitely heard that. I grew up north of the city, so I know those. I'm not a hunter, but that's awesome. What sound or noise do you hate?
So, sorry. The sound I hate is, I'm a football fan, so like I went to Mizzou. We're not very good typically, but we were good a couple of years ago. And we had a chance to win a game. I think it was against South Carolina.
Okay.
And we were, where our seats are is right on the goal line of the north end zone. That's where this was happening. We lined up to kick a field goal to win the game as time ran out. The kicker went out there and the ball bounced off the upright. And I will never forget
that
noise that ball hitting that upright made for the rest of my life.
pinging noise, right?
Yeah, it's just that god awful hollow metal ring. That was disappointing.
That's pretty cool. I like that. Well,
Yeah.
I'm saying, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's an interesting one. I like that. Here we go. I actually am very curious to know this. What's your favorite curse word?
Oh, I mean, I can go British sometimes. Those are good. I fully subscribe to the F word in all manners of usage. You know, noun, verb, adverb.
Okay.
Just however it can be used. I can use it as punctuation sometimes.
Sure. Or to express excitement.
Yeah. I mean, it's a canvas that one can develop in many different ways.
Yes. Many uses of the F word. That's good. And it's simple, right?
Yeah. I'll refrain from using it in case my mom finds this and watches it. But she still doesn't like it when I say that. But
my mom doesn't like it either.
Yeah. So
that's good. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
I always said if I just won the lottery and just had to do a job just for my own benefit or just the passage of time or happiness, I think I'd be a butcher.
Okay, I can see that as a butcher. Yeah,
there's something, I don't know that soothing's the right word, but it's just taking something, processing it the way it needs to be done, being able to finish the job. I need to break down this half beef today.
Sure.
All right. At the end of the day, it's done. I did that. Some of the two fields I've been in really in my employee life are very they're not tangible. You never get everything done in any of them. You can work your ass off all day and turn it around and look like nothing happened.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So just having a job where you can do that and just look back and be like, that's evidence that I had a good day.
There you go. That's a good one. I like that.
So
cool. You would probably be a very intimidating butcher, I would say. Covered in blood.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, I got a
hatchet.
I got all my fingers still, so I feel like that's a sign of a good one.
Okay. So last question.
Okay.
If heaven exists,
mm-hmm.
what would you like God to say to you when you arrive at the pearly gates?
That's deep. Maybe something like, you did better than I expected.
There you go.
If you can outplay your coverage, that's not bad.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
Excellent. Drew, that's it. You survived.
I made it.
Before we sign off, is there anything you like to tell us? Anything? Just all the information in your channel is going to be below, IG, all that stuff.
Okay.
When we're done. But is there anything else you want to say before we sign off?
Well, one, thanks for having me.
Of course.
Always fun to sit down and chat. I'm not very good about doing live streams or stuff like that anymore. I need to get back on that and have some guests on so I can continue the conversation on my side, because I enjoy doing things like that. But basically, check out the channel, check out the website. I've got a couple books for sale on there.
I'll put a link to that as well, for sure.
Yeah. Other than that, make sure you're subscribed to Ozzy's channel, my channel, all of our friends' channels. Live that YouTube comic community life.
Exactly. Okay, guys, that's the episode. Drew, thank you so much for joining me. It was a pleasure. I got to know you that much better, and everybody that's going to watch this is going to get to know Como Comic Books that much better. I appreciate everything. Guys, have a fantastic day, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Cheers.
See ya.